Hey guys, how's it going? My name is Kim and welcome back to Uncommonkim. So today I'm going to be taking you through my top 5 thriller horror authors. I've picked 3 books for each author and I'm just going to quickly go through, explain why I recommend them and why I love them so much. Nice and simple. To begin, I'm going to start off with my guy, Lisa Jewell. I love Lisa Jewell and I really enjoy her writing. Don't get me wrong, some of her books can be very hit or miss, but 9 times out of 10 I do quite enjoy them and I do enjoy her writing. Most of her books are thrillers. They're never horrors really, but they're mainly thrillers and they're a bit more realistic in the sense it's usually about real people and not very fictional, shall we say. So I have 3 books here. So my least favourite out of the 3 is None of This Is True, which I read for summerween last year. It was okay. It was also just a bit very long-winded and very out there and not very realistic. But when I read a Lisa Jewell, I like it to feel realistic, and this just, it wasn't the one. And then we have Then She Was Gone, which is basically about this little girl that goes missing, and about her mum trying to find her daughter, but she ends up meeting this man who has a daughter that looks just like hers, and it's just kind of going through figuring out all the twists and turns and what actually happened to her daughter. Very good, this one. I say realistic, it makes it seem like it could be something that could potentially happen, but it was a very good, well written and fun story. And then my favourite Lisa Jewell is The Family Upstairs. I loved this. I literally read it in a day. It was so good. So you have this large London house, and basically you have this baby crying upstairs in the topmost room of the house, and someone keeps going in and taking care of this baby, because there are several dead bodies within the house, and it's kind of who's actually looking after the baby. But I absolutely love this. It was so good. I read it so quick. I also read The Family That Remains. To be honest, I think it was unnecessary, wasn't really needed, but just this on its own, an amazing book. I really recommend. Next we have a newer horror author I have started to enjoy. I literally read one of the first books I read for her this year and I loved it. And we have Simone St. James. Simone St. James has a way with words, and every book I've given her was either 4 or 5 stars. Now I've read 3 of her books and they are either really freaking creepy or you're questioning your life choices. So in that sense, it is such a good time. So we have 3 of her books. We have Murder Road, The Book of Cold Cases and The Sundown Motel. These 2 I read back at the beginning of 2024. The Book of Cold Cases is if you quite enjoy like crime, true crime, more of like a whodunit but horror, this is a vibe. So we follow a true crime blogger that gets everything she bargained for while interviewing the woman acquitted of 2 cold case slayings in this book. All of Simone St. James' books are pretty much dual timelines, so you have 2 different timelines you follow. But if you're more into like crime, true crime podcasty vibes, I'd go for this one. If you really just want to be scared out your skin, this is your one. It's very supernaturally, shall we say. We have these couple who are going on holiday, I believe, and they take a wrong turning and find this girl on the side of the road, and they take her into the car and then they realise she is bleeding. And then she turns to them and says, sorry, he's coming. And in the distance, some headlights turn on and the car full pelts towards them. And then it's kind of a story of what the fuck happens on this road and who this guy is and what's going on. If this is very supernatural, let's just say that, and a lot of Simone St. James's books are supernatural. Book of Cold Cases not as such, but this one very much so, and the Sundown Motel very much so. If you're looking for like a serial killer, not this one, go supernatural for this one. But if you are looking for a serial killer, Sundown Motel. I recently gave this 5 stars. I loved it. It was so good. It does have supernatural elements, but also there is a serial killer. Again, this one is dual timeline, and we basically follow a lady called Carly who is trying to find out what happened to her auntie who went missing 30 years before, and then in the other timeline we follow her auntie Viv during the time of which she went missing, and it's so good. And you do have like a investigation element in both Viv and Carly's perspective, but even better than that, supernatural element in this is so well done. The characters in this are lush. I do love them. The twists, the turns, everything is amazing. It's probably a really good place to start with Simone St. James because you get a bit of both worlds in regards to the kind of true crimey crime investigation element, but you also get the supernatural part too, so it's probably a nice place to start. And then depending on what you like more is depending on whether you go Book of Cold Cases or you go Murder Road. But I so recommend Simone St. James. I love her so much. Next we'll go for another horror because we're here, and we're gonna go for the one and only Grady Hendrix. I love Grady Hendrix. I really enjoy his writing and the way that he creates these fucked up people and you really question their sanity and your own, but nonetheless his books are such a good time. So I have 3 books I'm going to talk about. So we have My Best Friend's Exorcism, which I think is the one that most people know about, and we follow these 2 girls, Abby and Gretchen, who are best friends, but they go into this river, and while in this river one of the friends starts acting a bit odd, and then from that point on continues to act a bit odd. If you can't tell by the title, you can guess what happened to said friend. But I love this one, but I've grown a massive hatred towards the friend. And even though it was really well written and I did really enjoy it, you do hate one of the characters in this for a little bit, but I still think it's worth it. Again, I think this is a good starting point for Grady Hendrix because it's not as gory or scary as some others, but it is still a bit like, what the fuck is going on? So I do think this is a very good place to start. I've spoken about this book quite a few times, but How to Sell a Haunted House scared the literal heebie-jeebies out of me. If you don't know, I hate creepy children, and more than that, I hate creepy dolls, and they were in this. They were in this. So in this we follow, let me just check what their names are, Louise and Mark, whose parents have just died. And they have to go and prepare their parents' house to be sold. However, creepy shit starts happening in this house where they're trying to clear it up, but they also discover a few little weird bits, such as the dolls and puppets, because her mum had a lifelong obsession with puppets and dolls. But some houses don't want to be sold, and this is definitely one of them. This is creepy as fuck. It won't be creepy for some people, but it was definitely creepy for me. The puppet they have, and I listened to the audiobook for this, by the way, the puppet's voice will forever be imprinted in my brain, and it scared the shit out of me. But you have the creepy dolls, you have the puppets, the house is just fucked. If you like to be scared, I'd say this is a good one. This probably won't scare most people, but my triggers are creepy dolls, creepy children, and now creepy puppets, and this had it all, so there we go. And then my favourite book by Grady Hendrix is the Seveners Book Club Guide to Slaying Vampires. This is also the first ever Grady Hendrix I read, and I loved it. So we follow this woman in this really small town, and this guy moves in across the road from her, and when he moves in, weird shit starts happening. Children start going missing, and let's just say this guy is a right weirdo. It can be quite slow to begin with, but once you kind of get the gist of him and you read the title, you know what's coming. And the ending of this was insane. But it was still such a good book. Very fast paced, even though due to the size of it. I loved this, and I would love to reread it in the future, because I think it is such a good time, and you just never really know what the fuck's gonna happen next, to be perfectly honest. And you can't beat a bit of Grady Hendrix, you know. I'm yet to actually read his most newest release. I'm kind of putting it off because there's been very mixed reviews, but I will read it. It is on my cart, as it is on there for my summer TBR, so I'm hoping I'll get to it in either July or August, but we'll see. Right, everyone knew this one was coming. You know this was coming. C.J. Tudor. Now, how do I explain this woman? This woman is the female Stephen King. She has a way with words that just grips me, pulls me in, and makes me read them. Officially, I have read every book by C.J. Tudor now, and the three I'm going to talk about are my three top books of hers. All of her books have either got a 4 or a 5-star from me, and I just love her writing. I find it really easy to read. Obviously it might not be for everyone, but for me personally it is such an easy read, and I fly through them. I recently read The Taking of Annie Thorne, and even though it wasn't the best book by her, I still really enjoyed it, and I found myself flying through it and not really understanding how. But nonetheless. So let's start with The Chalk Man. I love The Chalk Man. I read this quite a few years ago. This is her debut, I believe. This is the first book C.J. Tudor ever wrote. So we basically are in this really small town, and I believe it's dual perspective. Why is there no synopsis? Okay, in a small town, and I can't completely remember, but I think it's dual perspective, and you follow the same character in present day and the same character when he was a child. And when he was a child, chalk men started appearing everywhere. And they started appearing on their own, and when these chalk men started appearing, bodies were beginning to be found and people were starting to go missing, and it's kind of discovering in present day what fuck is going on with these chalk men, and where the fuck they're coming from. And I remember this gripping me so much. It did have scary moments, but it wasn't so scary that I couldn't read it. I haven't actually found a book that's made me go, I can't read that yet. So if you have any recs, let me know. But it was so fun, and it's very tense writing at times, but I just loved it. I loved it. And again, I love C.J. Tudor's writing, so I think that's got a massive thing to do with it. This wasn't actually the first book I read by her. The first book I read by her was The Other People, which is another good one. It's just not on this list. So yeah, I love C.J. Tudor. And the next one I'm going to recommend is The Gathering. So The Gathering I read last year. Was it last year this came out? Can't remember. But this is actually, if you quite enjoy crime, investigations, police, in your thriller, mystery, horrors, this is definitely a horror. I don't know actually, I'd say this is a thriller horror. This is a really good one to go for. So you'd think The Gathering, fangs. Ooh, vampires. Yeah, but vampires are just a part of the community in this. They're just there. They just exist. So this is based in a small Alaskan town, and a boy is found with his throat ripped out and the blood drained from his body. The brutality of the murder chillingly echoes a killing from 25 years ago. An out-of-state detective is brought in to assist the sheriff, who is investigating the original case. However, the inhabitants of Dead Heart believe they know who is responsible, one of the nearby vampire colonies who live in an old mining settlement deep in the mountains. And then it's basically, we're going through trying to, because some things aren't adding up during the case. So it's, are they hunting for a specific vampire, or is this an actual cold-blooded murderer? And I really love this, and it really does keep you guessing throughout. You never 100% know whether it is a vampire or if it is actually just someone a part of the community. And I think that's what I loved so much about this. Just noticed as well, Stephen King blurbed it, and he's literally said, if you like my stuff, you'll like this. So there you go, female Stephen King. And then the last C.J. Tudor is The Burning Girls. This has now been adapted into a show, I believe, but it was so good. So good. I love this so much. I feel like this is the most popular one out of C.J. Tudor's books, and the one that people most know about. So just to remind myself, because it's been a while. So 500 years ago, 8 martyrs were burnt to death. 30 years ago, 2 teenagers vanished without a trace. 2 months ago, a vicar committed suicide. Welcome to Chapel Croft. For Reverend Jack Brooks and teenage daughter Flo, it's supposed to be a fresh start, new job, new home, but as Jack knows, the past isn't easily forgotten. And in a close-knit community where the residents seem as proud as they are haunted by Chapel Croft's history, Jack must tread carefully. Ancient superstitions as well as mistrust of outsiders will be hard to overcome. Why is Flo plagued by visions of the Burning Girls? Who is sending them sinister, threatening messages? And why did no one mention that the last vicar killed himself? This is very much like if you enjoy, again, like investigations, police, true crime, this is a good one for that, because there is a lot. It's basically a small town murder mystery, but there's a couple of different murders and we're trying to figure out why. Obviously there is a little bit of supernatural element to this, very small, but at the same time it's like, what fuck. It's got your classic kind of small town vibes with creepy old people and people who think they own the town when they don't, but otherwise it's a really good time and a really good vibe. If you haven't read by C.J. Tudor before, this is actually a really good starting place, because I feel like it just slowly creeps you in and then you can kind of go from there. And finally, because we all knew she was going to appear, Holly Jackson. Holly Jackson is just thrillers. She just does thrillers. These are all currently YA. She has an adult thriller coming out later this month, which I'm gassed for. And I'm also meeting Holly Jackson next week. But yes, Holly Jackson. So let's start at the beginning. A Good Girl's Guide to Murder. So this is her debut, her first book, which is a YA thrillery murder mystery where we follow a girl called Pip who believes that someone who was charged with the murder of another girl in their town is wrongfully convicted, and she decides that along with Ravi, together they're going to try and prove that they are correct, and they start getting death threats and things happen and change. This does have a podcast element to it, and an interview kind of aspect, so I really recommend the podcast audiobook if you are into audiobooks, as it is a great way to read this. It really keeps you guessing throughout. It is a trilogy. Each book follows a different crime. I love this, and I hope one day Holly Jackson will go back to this world, but for the time being I'm loving the vibe she's going for. But this was such a good book and a good series, and it is one of my favourite series of all time. I do recommend it. Next we have her standalone. This is the first standalone she did after A Good Girl's Guide to Murder, which is called 5 Survive, and where we follow these group of teenagers, I believe, on a road trip when their RV breaks down in the middle of nowhere, and they soon realise this is no accident and they've been trapped by someone out there in the dark, someone who clearly wants them dead. With 8 hours until dawn, the 6 friends must escape and work out which one of them is the target. Buried secrets will be forced to light, and tensions inside the RV will reach deadly levels. This was very, very good, and like I say, based over 8 hours, and it literally does have like time frames, and I did enjoy this one. It was good. I didn't guess the ending at all. I liked the aspect where they were kind of stuck in this area and had to figure out who, what, where, when, why. But it's not my favourite by Holly Jackson, but it was still a good fun time. Nice, quick, easy read, to be fair, and classic Holly Jackson writing, so you can't go wrong. But then my favourite book, which you've all heard me talk about 70,000 times, and I will continue to talk about to the day I die, is The Reappearance of Rachel Price by Holly Jackson. This is a thriller. This is a YA thriller, but very near to adult, may I add. I loved this with every ounce of my being. It was my favourite book of last year. This is her newest release. Obviously, her new release comes out later in the month. So, in this, we follow Belle. Belle was abandoned in a car when she was 2 years old by her mum, and then her mum was never seen again. Come up to present day, and her dad has decided they are going to become a part of a documentary to talk about Rachel's disappearance and see if any new information can come of it. While recording said documentary, Rachel reappears and just turns up out of the blue, but something doesn't seem right. Everyone thinks that she's lying, and it's basically we go along with Belle while she tries to figure out what actually happened to her mum, and where her mum has been for the past 15 odd years, and why she won't tell the truth. And her mum starts acting really funny, and the whole family's acting a bit bizarre. But this is such a good time. I read this in like 12 hours. It was great. I stayed up till 2 AM to finish it. Literally one of the best books I have ever read. And I will recommend it to the day I die. I say that. I might be the same about Holly Jackson's new book. Oh, could you imagine? But yeah, I honestly think if you've never read Holly Jackson before, you could start here. I wouldn't start here, but you can. Or you could start here. I'd say one of the two. You could either go standalone or series. Either or. If you want more of like a thrilling experience, go for The Reappearance of Rachel Price. If you want more of like a chiller, mystery-esque vibe, Good Girl's Guide to Murder is a nice place to start. But yeah, that is my top 5 horror thriller authors. Quite a variety of authors, quite a different vibe with each, but these guys I'll read to the day I die, and I love them. I love them so much. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. If you made it to the end of the video, leave a clackboard. Is that what it's called? Clackboard? In the description. Let me know you made it to the description. In the comments, because let me know you made it to the end of the video. Like, subscribe if you're new, as we're on our way to 500 subscribers, and I'll see you all soon for another video. Bye.